So, by now, whether you're a VShojo fan or a Hololive fan or a VTuber fan in general, you've probably heard of Holocure, the most notorious and widely renowned VTuber fan game ever. This game is basically a Hololive variant of Vampire Survivors, also one of the most popular indie games of the last couple years. But while in Vampire Survivors, it's the player endlessly killing different forms of undead, in Holocure, the gameplay is the player choosing their favorite Hololive member and endlessly killing mobs that take the form of their fan bases and mascots. And after wasting a shit ton of hours I could have used to be productive playing this fucking game, it just recently dawned on me that Hololive has a shit ton of mascots. From skeletons to literal balls of fluff, alligators in frock coats to stickmen to... more than enough to not just create different types of enemies for the game, but also all types of merchandising opportunities for Hololive. I mean, hell, Japan is pretty fucking crazy when it comes to mascots. Have you seen their obsessions with minions? VTubing in general has created a culture where mascots are more than just a suggestion. In fact, they're almost a must-have, and that makes sense. In anime, or any sort of media that involves moe or cuteness, a mascot always has been historically used to symbolize not just the characters, and in this case VTubers, but also the brand and the media themselves. From Pikachu to Haru, Chopper to Happy, Luna to... all kinds of mascots paint a very distinct brand identity when it comes to business, and it's no different in VTubing, especially in the agency that they belong to. And some mascots have become as legendary and iconic as the VTubers themselves, and at times, even much more than the VTubers they come from. But aside from merchandising reasons, why does a VTuber need a mascot? How do you make one successful? How does it impact the fanbase? What is the deal with VTuber mascots? First, mascots are usually made for three things: a weird interpretation or caricature of the VTuber themselves, the personification of their fanbase, and lastly, their pets, summons, or companions. Let's break down all those things one by one. VTubers are often wild and wacky, and they do some really wild and wacky shit. Part of the general community's humor is to not just make fun of other VTubers, especially their friends, but also to make fun of themselves. When a VTuber recognizes that there's meme potential or a special kind of element in their own design, they often use that memification as part of their brand identity. Fans love it when VTubers do this shit, especially if it fits really well with the VTubers themselves. Sometimes it's even the fans that decide for these memes to incarnate as a mascot, and usually it's born from certain memorable events like Halloween specials, April Fools, costume reveals, 3D debuts, all those sort of things. Certain fanworks and impressive renditions of the VTubers from their community could become mascots themselves too. In fact, most of the well-known caricature mascots actually are creations and works from the VTubers fanbase, especially modified versions of their character design. But while these modified versions are not necessarily mascots all the time, this kind of mascot serves as excellent merchandising opportunities and more avenues for VTubers to create their content. When VTubers embody their mascot alters, some use a different persona entirely as a part of their kayfabe. And I think that's the most effective way to show off that mascot, whether that alter be someone that's more say-so or mischievous or absolutely terrifying. It's a good way to give your fans and yourself a good time, especially if it contrasts or enhances traits that your fanbase knows you for. This kind of mascot also stems from inside jokes and memes and references within a VTuber's own sub-community. And sometimes even the staff members and especially the CEOs become mascots themselves. The second variant of a mascot are those that represents the VTuber's fanbase, and this is perhaps the most popular kind of mascot. The fanbase mascot is the appearance a certain VTuber's community takes, usually drawn or presented by the VTubers themselves or fan-made creations made official by the VTuber. A bit of this comes from idol and stan culture actually, but it really is great for community engagement. See, the normal streamers usually call their communities chat, and while that in of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, again that's the norm, it makes for one special distinction VTubing has that normal streaming doesn't. That being a term of endearment for their community by calling them something different, and even naming them. This makes the fanbase and the VTuber much more parasocial towards each other. By giving your community a name, you basically imply that they are special, creating a very clear distinction between different fanbases of different VTubers. Really, it's one of the many practices in this industry that gives it that parasocial heavy aspect. at least here in the traditional or Eastern side of things. Now, this happens to also be very effective for marketing purposes. A good design of a fan-based mascot does really well for merchandising and brand recognition. It makes so much fucking money, because the fanbase of that VTuber will literally just wear fanbase mascot merch to tell people that, hey, this certain VTuber is my Oshi, without telling non-VTuber fans that they're a fucking VTuber degenerate. It's a badge of honor, basically. A uniform for many VTuber fans. That's why it's so profitable. In fact, one fanbase mascot is so fucking iconic that it's actually something of a marketing and designing genius. That fanbase being the Nosaki Taco Dachis. Tacos are the fanbase of Hololive VTuber Nino Mai Inanis, and they look like this. And if you think this is just a basic VTuber design, then yes. Yes it is, but if you think it's a bad VTuber design, then you are utterly so wrong. Because not only is this one of the most recognizable mascots in this industry, it's also one that gives off the exact vibes as to what Taco Dachis are. See, I think this is one aspect that fan-based mascots lack a lot of the time. That immediate sense of who and what they are. Most fan-based mascots are made with the intention of giving it that cute appeal while having elements and visual motifs of the VTuber. And yes, I agree that this is important. A mascot design has to be appealing enough to a point where people outside the VTubing community will see that mascot and think it's cute or cool or memorable, perhaps even to a point of wanting to buy merch of it. They have to have an appeal that is genuinely universal and goes beyond VTubing. However, very few mascots convey the general personality of the fanbase themselves. Taco Dachis are perhaps the most chill and drama-free fanbase in the entirety of big corpo VTubing. They are also one of the horniest. And by looking at the mascot design, you can probably tell that that's the case. Taco Dachis are versatile enough to be used as literally any kind of merch. Hats, masks, shirt, backpacks, plushies, name the kind of merch and the Taco Dachi design will literally be perfect for it. Versatility, marketability, general appeal, and accurate depiction of the fanbase is what I think a VTuber or an agency should think about when it comes to deciding what a VTuber fanbase should look like. Not that I blame any VTuber or agency for not doing so though, because a lot of fanbase mascots are generally made on the spot or made by the design of the fanbase that the VTuber themselves made official. Because of this, not every VTuber can optimize how and what their fan mascots are gonna look like. There are also cases where the fanbase does dictate what they look like. In places where shitposting is common, certain figures decide for themselves what they should look like, and often, these designs are those that the VTuber themselves don't acknowledge or make official at all. Self-assigned mascots are what I call them, and they usually take the form of memes, especially those in the edgy side of things. As an example, both of these are saplings, which is what Fauna calls her fanbase. One is a normal official sapling, acknowledged by Fauna herself and the rest of Hololive, but the other is called the needy sapling, acknowledged not by Fauna but literally every shitposter and fan in the community, although 100% Fauna also knows what they are. These are the type of mascots that the agencies and VTuber themselves can't make official because of their edgy and not so corporate-friendly implications, and as such can't monetize off of it. For the last variant of the VTuber mascots, we have pets, familiars, or summons, or whatever. Now, this has the flexibility of the caricature mascot while having the potential versatility and marketability of the fanbase mascot. Reason being that these mascots are designed by the VTuber or agency artists themselves. This makes it so that the agency or VTuber can really think about how to make this mascot as marketable, appealing, and versatile as much as they can for merchandising reasons, and to make it so that that mascot speaks to not just the kayfabe and character of the VTuber, but also to the audience. Agencies love adding this shit to their VTubers, or at least they should, because they're missing out on potential merch sales if they aren't. And this is important considering that most VTuber agencies have merch sales as perhaps the biggest percentage of their income. The one con for this particular mascot is that they can often be forgettable, though. Hell, sometimes the fans and even the VTubers themselves forget about this mascot, and that's because it lacks that certain type of connection needed for a mascot to be truly sentimental and memorable. Unlike the fan mascot or the caricature mascot, this one isn't made by the fans, nor was it forged through jokes or fun memories or memes. And because of this, some pet mascots feel really artificial, unless of course the pet itself has been memed to hell and back. While the pet mascot can be handcrafted and lab-made by the VTuber themselves to be perfect, most marketable and sellable shit possible, it comes with the cost of not having any sentiment or fun, or that one little detail that makes mascots truly become loved and memorable on the fanbase side of things. Of course, I'm not saying that this is a universal experience for pet mascots, it's just that it's a very easy trap for this kind of mascot to fall into. Even if you make a pet mascot as versatile and fun and cute, to a point that it rivals a takodachi in terms of technical impressiveness, without coating it in memes or dipping it in jokes or involving it with all sorts of emotions, both from you and your fanbase, then the mascot stops being a mascot. It starts being nothing but a mere accessory of your VTuber avatar. Again, at the end of the day, the reason why mascots work is because they represent the fun times and connection both VTubers and the fanbase has, regardless of what type it is. Even if marketability tanks a bit, your mascot will still work even if it's piss poor in terms of design. Like that one torn and shredded teddy bear that you've always had as a kid that you can't throw away for some reason even as an adult. This is what differentiates the bad mascot and the good mascot. In sports, or any kind of spectacles, mascots are supposed to improve morale, or as a symbol of luck. In business, mascots are to make a long-lasting impressions in the minds of consumers, personify their brand or product to make it much more marketable. And in VTubing, all of these apply, except you can't manufacture personal and emotional connection with your audience like how brand mascots try to do. You cannot breathe life into your mascots by plastering it everywhere, or giving it lore animations, or spending money for its relevancy. In fact, its relevancy has to be the one that gives you money. No, you have to give life by making memories with it alongside your audience. Only then will VTuber mascots truly go beyond iconic. It's only then will VTuber mascots become meaningful.